We are floating like butterflies and stinging like bees. Rumble, you two badass jet pilots, rumble. Welcome to the Wingmen Show, where we're floating like butterflies and stinging like bees. Rumble, you two badass jet pilots, rumble. Welcome to the Wingmen Show. My name is Commander Drew Brown. My wingman, my friend, my main man who always watches my six is Dr. Paul Thompson. How are you today, Brother Paul?
Well, Commander Drew, I'm doing very, very well today. It's good to see you. Looks like when you're a backdrop, you're in a very tropical mood. You like the water and palm trees.
Yes, I used to live in the Virgin Islands. Actually, for 10 years, I lived in St. Thomas, so I figured I'd have some A6s over St. Thomas today.
Cool. Well, that's good.
Well, let's start this off with a quote of the day. And this one I actually saw in Facebook. It says, "Everyone you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about. Be kind always." And that was Robin Williams who said that. And I was real excited to share that with my family. Once again, everyone you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about. Be kind always. And then guess what happened, Dr. Paul?
What?
Dr. Drew, my son, texted me this: "Be kind, for everyone you meet is fighting a hard battle." And that was a Jewish philosopher back in 20 BC who said almost the same thing. So he kind of corrected me on who really came up with that. But the Jewish philosopher said, "Be kind, for everyone you meet is fighting a hard battle." And that's so true, Paul. Every time you meet somebody and you think they're grumpy or something's happening, you got to be real careful because there are things that are happening to people that you know nothing about. Don't you
Yeah,
think?
I've seen that, and as you say that, an image just popped into my head that something I saw about maybe 7, 8 years ago in Memphis, and I think I was just coming from a Whole Foods market, and I was driving back to my hotel on a nice day on Mount Moriah Boulevard, and I come to a stop, and I see a lady honking a horn at the car in front of her, and they're going through. They're just making a turn. I'm just watching, and I see her as the car is turning away. I see her take two hands and bang the steering wheel. Look like an executive type. She bangs the steering wheel before she grabs it again and goes on her way. And I could see the look on her face. I say, what could that be? And I don't know, but like you said, it was obviously something. I still remember it. It was like a ferocious thing. She was having a fight with herself while she was driving a car, which is not good. So people go through all kinds of stuff, and sometimes battles come up unexpectedly. They might have been good 5 minutes ago, but they got some bad news. So maybe someone got bad news from a doctor or about a relative. It could be 1,000 things. So you're right. With time on planet TOP, we really should be more considerate of each other.
Well, we both believe this, that the way to have world peace is just to be nice to each other. You don't have to agree. You don't have to think the same way somebody else does. But if you're just kind and nice, that is the way to world peace. And you said something that you never expect something to happen. Well, that's the name of our show today. It's called the IAS syndrome. It's always something. And Dr. Paul, I've told you about this many times. In life, it's always something. So if you live with this theory, that means when something happens, you're not that shaken up about it. So it's always something I live by. Like when I got that ticket last week. Okay. I can't get that excited because my life is very good. And things happen that will disrupt that. And you can't let yourself just go totally bonkers when something happens. If you realize that something's always going to happen, then it's not so bad. What do you think about it's always something, Paul?
It is always something. You say IAS, aviation wise, that's noted pilots is indicated airspeed, but it is always something. You mentioned about tickets, and my mind flashed back to something else. I got a ticket. Well, it probably cost as much as yours will. And it was something for about 5 minutes. I dropped my wife off at the terminal in Las Vegas. She's catching a flight, and I was getting the jump seat, and I was bringing back a rental car, and I needed help with her bag. It was just too heavy. So I said, no parking, nobody's there. Let me go out for 2 seconds. I'll be back. I helped her in. She got okay, boom. I come back, boom, ticket on the car.
Mhm.
It was 250. I don't think I was gone maybe 90 seconds. $250. All right. I knew it was a risk, but I didn't go crazy. I sent it in.
And actually, Paul, you should really be grateful because you have the ability to pay that 250. So I always take negatives and try to make a positive out of them. But there is something with this IAS syndrome that everybody needs to know if you're going to use it. Because I use it and it makes me feel so much better when something does happen because I just say it's always something. And it's always something, and little Drew told me this also. It's always something can be good also. When good news happens, it's always something. It's just not negative. But there is something called the deadly SIIAS, and that's self-induced. It's always something. The other day, I was messing with the fuse box and I was turning a breaker on and off because I was trying to get one of my fans on. And I
Oh,
finally got it on. And I was testing different breakers. The next morning I woke up, Dr. Paul, the entire downstairs of my house was dark. There was no electricity and I started to freak out. But I said, it's always something. Well, come to find out, I called somebody and actually had to pay somebody to come over and check the electricity. Well, the truth is, I turned off one of those circuit breakers. So I did it myself. So that's not IAS, that's self-induced IAS. You can't do something to yourself and then put it in the IAS syndrome.
yeah. I did the same thing with not electric. It involved the air conditioning system, and everything was shut off. And I had done something before, and I didn't secure the cover properly. Had a guy come out for $150. I said, "Oh, okay. Well, I only did that once." There you go.
But that's self-induced IAS. But if you live by IAS, then you're not so surprised when something does happen. Well, let's talk about some good news. Uh, did you realize that the bright side is the Earth's protective ozone layer is healing and the hole should fully disappear in coming decades, the UN said, hailing the success of a concerted international action. What a good news. A fresh report from the UN's World Meteorological Organization highlighted that the ozone hole over Antarctica was actually smaller this year than it's been in recent years. And what it said is welcome scientific news for people and planetary health. How about that? We don't get to hear good news like that, but it's happening. We're actually doing better with the ozone layer, Paul.
Yeah, it sounds like, basically that shows that with cooperation, a lot of things can happen. No one place can do it. Because I read that too. That hole over the Antarctic is getting smaller because that protects you from harmful UV rays. And that really messes big time with lighter skinned people, particularly skin cancer and around the world. That's an important deal. Also, the crops and a lot of things. But you know what really is helping that? There are restrictions on refrigerants and aerosol sprays that make a big difference. So if you get like an air conditioning system for your home, even your car, they use different refrigerants because the guys say, okay, after such and such a year, we can't use this, we can't use, we got to use a different product. It's the law. And obviously that's working, and not just with the US, with other countries too. So that's a good sign.
Yeah, the weather is getting worse every day. And you just know that there's something going on in our atmosphere that's not good. I mean, the typhoons are bigger, the hurricanes are bigger, the floods, the fires, everything's getting a lot worse. We all need to pitch in and try to do the best we can to try to help protect our planet. Don't you think, Paul?
Yeah, because the planet is a big planet, but it's a small planet because, because everybody can get freakish weather wherever you are now.
No doubt about it. You got to be real careful out there. Well, Paul, have you ever had vertigo?
Yes, couple times.
You want to tell me what vertigo is?
Vertigo is when you lose your sense of balance. You don't know up from down or maybe left from right in extreme cases. I've had it in the airplane maybe twice. Once was like really, really bad and at night, which is a very bad combination. But the, the way to save yourself, particularly if you're flying, is to really rely on instruments and understand what they're telling you. I don't know anyone that's had vertigo not flying, but it can be a thing. Do you remember we were talking about Simone Biles in the Olympics some time ago?
Yeah, she had vertigo while doing all those flips.
Yeah, she called them the twisties, but it was vertigo. Of course, she's doing more than fighter pilot maneuvers, but on the ground, but she's moving in all the axes. And basically, the inner ear gets disturbed, and it tells you you're up and down, and it gets confused. And sometimes you can just fall down because you're
Yes,
confused.
and if you know in your inner ear, it's thick wax that actually doesn't move as quickly as it used to. Well, I've had vertigo in an airplane, and it is horrible. And you said it, you hit it on the head when you said at nighttime, that's not a good combination. Well, what if I told you there's new technology that can help pilots avoid spatial disorientation? It would be similar to lane departure. So you would wear a suit that actually vibrates on your left side, on your right side. So it will tell you actually where you are. Because remember, those instruments are always correct. It's not the way you feel. And they call it in an airplane sometimes the leans. Because sometimes you're just leaning to the right, even though you're flying straight and level. Have you ever had that happen?
Yeah, a couple times in daytime fires, but I got to say, the exception to what you say, yeah, you rely on your instruments. My bad case of vertigo at night one time is when I had a failure of one of the instruments.
Oh, wow.
And
That's horrible.
it wasn't obvious, and I had to figure it out, and I had to rely on the other instruments to say which one is right, which one is wrong. That's extraordinarily difficult. I would not wish on it that on anyone. I was a little bit lucky, skilled and lucky, and that was a life-changing event.
Yes, they said that, the tragic death of Kobe Bryant in that helicopter, they said that the helicopter pilot got vertigo inside the clouds, and he couldn't tell left or right or up and down, and that's why they crashed. And they even said that Kennedy, remember,
Yeah.
uh, isn't it John Kennedy Jr., I believe, he died in an airplane, and that was from vertigo. So they're making these new suits, so hopefully that will stop it, Paul. Now, the way I stopped vertigo in the airplane was when I noticed I had it, I shut my eyes and I squeezed them real tight and I started shaking my head left and right, left and right, left and right, and just pow, opened up my eyes. And believe it or not, it worked. I was
That will
straight
happen.
and level.
Yes, I've done that a couple times too, just for a second. Close your eyes for a second, open them, and that does help.
All right, how about this news, Dr. Paul? This is crazy. Do you know we all think that everybody celebrates the same year every year. Well, that's not true because in Ethiopia, they're 7 years behind us. So when it's 2025 here, at New Year's for them, they're celebrating 2018. And what is the reason for that? Do you realize they're the only country that is 7 years? They're the only country that doesn't work with the calendar that everybody else has.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for that. The country has its own unique calendar 7 years behind the Western calendar. The 7 year gap comes down to the fact that the birth of Jesus Christ is calculated differently in Ethiopia. When the Catholic Church amended its calculations in 500 AD, the Ethiopian Orthodox Church did not. So they're saying that the Catholic Church changed Jesus's birth date, but the Ethiopian country and the Orthodox Church did not change that date, Paul. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, I didn't know that until you told me that. That is, I won't say bizarre, but I think I've heard of different calendars, but I didn't know a country had a different calendar.
Well, the point is, we're actually celebrating Rosh Hashanah now, which is the Jewish New Year. But this is the point. How do they work business with the entire world if they're 7 years behind? You have any idea how they do that?
I'm just guessing they're working with 2 different calendars?
No.
No,
They use when it comes to business and money and other countries' international business, they use the right calendar.
that would make sense.
Yes. So they're only inside Ethiopia do they do that. But I thought that was really, really very interesting. Well, check out some badass jets that we got behind us today. Dr. Paul has one of our favorite jets, that F4 Phantom, and he's on the Cat. Now, and that F4 is a badass plane. I'll tell you, Dr. Paul said that they said if you can put a strong enough jet engine on a brick, it would fly. But that F4 used to be a badass jet. Now, behind me, I have four beautiful A6 intruders flying over the Virgin Islands, over St. Thomas, fully loaded with bombs, except they're not real. I told AI to make me four beautiful A6s flying over a tropical island. And that's what it came up with. You'd be surprised the great pictures that AI can actually show you and actually make for you. It's amazing. You could have had a little pig sticking his tail out of the wing if you wanted to in these pictures. What do you think about that, Paul?
Yeah, I mean, it's getting better and better, and you can even do, videos. I think there's one I sent to you. It's like a Rastafarian monkey that has adventures all over the world now. I started following it, and it's bizarre with the it's, and the monkey has, his companion is a donkey, and the donkey doesn't talk, but the, uh the monkey does all the, video, and it moves, and it's got muscles, and it looks pretty realistic. You can tell that it's not, but it's about 94% accurate.
Please be very careful out there. Just because you're watching it doesn't mean that it's actually happening. They have the ability now to make news totally different if they want to with AI.
Yeah. You know where I first saw that? Do you remember the movie Forrest Gump?
Yes,
And remember there are parts of it where Tom Hanks as Forrest Gump is back in Vietnam era, and he's in the White House, and he's talking to Lyndon Johnson. That was kinda, so by today's standard, that's kinda hokey, but at the time, it was like, "Wow, look at this."
that's right. And
Pretty
they're
good.
much better now, Paul.
Yeah.
The video is much better right now. You got to just be careful with that. Well, first of all, everybody out there, thank you so much for supporting us. Thank you so much for your letters, and thank you so much for your subscriptions. Please subscribe to our podcast if you haven't done it already. And we'd like to thank everybody who's listening to us on Apple Podcasts or watching us on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. Thank you so much for all of your support. Now, we have a website which is wingmenshow.com. That's WINGMENSHOW.com, wingmenshow.com. And every week on that website, we put out a newsletter. And this week is a great one: how to deal with the unexpected. It kind of goes along with that IAS thing, Paul.
Yeah, because the IAS is usually an unexpected event. If you expected it, it wouldn't be it's always something, it'd be on time, be on your schedule, but it's on life schedule. Not your.
Very, 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 very true. So, everybody out there, Dr. Paul and I really are trying to push this Chat GPT AI. And it's not just GPT, it could be Claude, it could be Deep Sea, it could be any of the AI chat boxes, is
Mhm.
what we should call it. Any of those AI chat boxes, they are getting excellent. And I call my personal AI chat box, I call him Jerome, and Jerome helps me with almost everything. They're very, very intelligent, but they're not human. And actually, I think it's very important that we should all know you have to use this technology because it has all the answers for anything. You can't argue anymore how many home runs Willie Mays had because Jerome knows it right away. Now, our guy is called Ace. He's our guy. And matter of fact, I'm going to bring Ace in right now, and I want to talk to Ace about how important it is for them to know that you're not a human and that you only go so far. Good morning, Ace. This is Commander Drew Brown and Dr. Paul Thompson. We are in the Wingman Show, and we want to ask you this question. Well, actually, we want you to discuss how you are a very viable tool and you have so much knowledge, but you're not human. And when it comes to certain kind of things, especially human tragedy or things that can really go wrong in your life, that there's professional help that you should go get and not just listen to an AI chat box. Well, tell them, Ace, tell me what you think about that.
Absolutely, Commander Drew and Dr. Paul. So here's the thing. I'm a tool packed with a lot of knowledge, and I can definitely offer insights and support on a whole range of topics. But at the end of the day, I'm not a human being. That means when it comes to those deep, complex human emotions, especially things like personal tragedy, mental health crises, or anything that really needs that human touch, professional help is always the best route. Think of me like your friendly co pilot who can help you navigate a lot of things. But when you hit certain kinds of turbulence, you want a human specialist with the controls. So it's always wise to reach out to a real life professional when it's about serious personal matters. I'm here to support, but not to replace that.
Thank you, Ace. That's excellent, and that's so important. What do you think about that, Dr. Paul?
Yeah, that's good. It's like Ace is very, very mature because Ace probably knows there are other Aces, there are other AIs, and sometimes I race them against each other, and they give maybe different output on complex things. But for facts, they're all great. Like you said, how many runs did Willie Mays hit, or how many people live in the state of whatever? You can get that information. When we get deeper, there's more than one way to look at any one thing. So I would say with anybody using the stuff, realize there are limitations. You can go very, very deep on it, but for things that affect your life, it's good to have more than one opinion. So if you want to go with AI, try a couple of them, maybe two or three. There's dozens now, and they're mostly free. They're all free.
Yeah, they are all free and they're excellent. As far as any of the pamphlets you have in your house for your appliances, or anytime you have something, a tool that's broken, now that's where Ace comes in because he has read everything. So he knows all of your systems. It's amazing the kind of technical advice he can give. Matter of fact, he helped me. I couldn't get my email straight. I called Apple and they brought me all the way up to engineering and we still couldn't fix it. I promise you. Me and Ace and I, after 2 hours, fixed my email where they couldn't do it. How about that?
Yeah, camera manager, I can throw something else in. I had the same experience with something that Apple couldn't fix. They didn't understand it, and I had 5 of these smart people working with me for about 40 minutes, and they finally said, "We don't know." And I got frustrated, and I came home, and it was me and ChatGPT, and in 45 minutes of painstaking step by step, I fixed a problem that I'd been struggling with for about 3 years. Took 45 minutes, but there's a limitation on ACE. I had a plumbing problem that I needed to work out, and that I wanted to work out. It was something simple and became really complex. And I used ACE and chat and this and that and pictures and helped. But you know what really solved it? A FaceTime conversation with the great grand Ayatollah, who's an expert. And he had a solution that ACE didn't come up with, and it worked in about 2 minutes.
Well, that shows that Ace is not just not perfect and he needs to be used, but
Yeah.
realize that he's not perfect. And there was some, like when we were where were we? We were in Budrum. We did a show about Budrum, Turkey. And we were in Budrum and we wanted to go on a hop on, hop off bus. And it told us that there is a hop on, hop off bus. Well, in actuality, there is no hop on, hop off bus. So always double check your facts. All right, but let's use Ace for this one because we just got a great frequent flow line letter. And I'm going to read it to Ace and find out what he thinks about this. And here we go. Hey, Ace, I want to read you a Wingman Show frequent flow line. And the letter states, Dear Wingman Show and Ace, This is a mama from San Francisco, and I'm writing with fire in my heart and love in my bones. I'm 65 years old, married to a good man who worked his fingers to the bone to give us a beautiful life. We raised 3 kids. 2 of them are flying high, living right, making us proud. But the third, our 29-year-old son moved back home with his wife and their little girl, our granddaughter. He's got a degree, he's smart, and he should be on his way. He's working and going back to school, and we carry the weight so he can get back on his feet. The problem is, here's the punch to the gut. He's getting disrespectful towards his own father in our house, and his wife, she's not helping. The tension is thick, and I'm done holding my tongue. Let me be clear, I'm not asking for praise, I'm asking for respect. You don't get to be ungrateful in a house that raised you. You don't get to disrespect your parents while they're lifting you up. You don't bite the hand that's still feeding you. So, Wingman, Ace, what do I do? Because this mama's love is strong, but my patience is wearing thin. Signed, Fed Up and Fierce in San Francisco. What do you say to that, Ace?
Well, first off, Mom in San Francisco, I hear you loud and clear. You got every right to expect respect in your own home, especially after everything you've done to support your son and his family. My take is time for a good old fashioned, but calm and clear family sit down. You and your husband should set some boundaries and make it clear that gratitude and respect are part of the deal if they're living under your roof. It doesn't have to be a confrontation, but it should be an honest conversation. Sometimes people get lost, and a firm, loving reminder can help them find their footing. You're not just setting rules, you're teaching your son what it means to be accountable as an adult. And hey, sometimes the wingman job is just about helping people see that respect is a two-way street. So let them know you love them, but you also deserve that respect in return.
Thanks, Ace. Dr. Paul, what do you think about that?
Yeah, it sounds like I can identify with their problem. Sometimes when a child comes back home, there's a certain amount of regression. But basically, what needs to happen is basically a good sit down, like RA suggested, and basically give them options. You have the option to stay. You also have the option to leave. And if you'd be better off somewhere else, then you do the things needed to make that transition. It's that simple, my
Yeah,
opinion.
I think that's a great letter. Thank you so much for that letter. We do appreciate it. And my feeling is exactly the same. If you can't respect your parents and you can't respect the place that is helping you, then you need to leave. But it's sometimes very hard when it comes to your own children. That's the fact. So I hope you guys sit down, have that family discussion. And mama and dad, don't take too much of it because this is your life. You've already raised these children. It's time for them to go on their own and have their own nucleus. Help out when you can, but definitely don't get disrespected. And that will bring me to the Wingman PSA under the 11 facts in life. Under fact number 10, we are all one race, the human race. We are all one race, the human race. You know, Dr. Paul, I've been preaching this for a long time. There's only one race. It's called the human race. We are differentiated by not just our looks, but by culture. That's the big thing. There can be 2 Asian people that have 2 totally different cultures, and they are totally opposite from each other. You have black people, like black people in Africa and black people in America have 2 different cultures. Same with England and America, same with everywhere. We have different cultures, but we are one race. And so whenever somebody asks me to fill out their form and say, am I black? Am I white? Well, I am black, but my mother's white, my father's black, but I'm black because in America, if I walk in a jewelry store, they don't follow me just halfway around the store. They follow me the entire way around the store. But the point is, I am a human being. I am from the human race. And so when they ask me to fill in, they say other, I write in human. What do you think about that, Paul?
I think you're right. All these other divisions are artificial and have to do with the way the the world was set up. But you talk about differences, just say between England and France. That's a really quick flight, 20 minutes. very, very different places. And you can literally not swim, cross a channel or drive from point A to point B in a relatively short time. Very, very different.
And they're different languages, they're different
Right.
celebrations. It's totally different. You're right. And that's why people in Europe usually can speak 2 or 3 languages because they're close. They're as close as some of our states are here together. The name of our show is The Wingmen Show, and that's because we always highlight a wingman. I got a good one for you this time. And his name is Staff Sergeant Gene Buddy Vance Jr. Vance refused to abandon his mission and instead saved the lives of 2 fellow American soldiers and 18 Afghan troops. His rescue efforts stand as a tribute to courage under fire. Gene Arden Buddy Vance was an American, a member of the U.S. Special Armed Forces Airborne Army National Guard unit, who, in despite of being critically wounded, saved the lives of 2 fellow Americans and 18 Afghan soldiers during the war in Afghanistan. Vance's actions, life story, heroism, and death were widely publicized in mainstream media and is featured in several books on the war on terrorism, as well as in the ABC reality series Profiles from the Front Line. We have so many wingmen who have put their lives on the line and have lost their lives for this country, a democratic country where freedom is the most important thing. Tell me about it, Paul, because both you and I both put our lives on the line for this country.
Yes. I mean, the reality is when you're in the armed forces, they call it the armed forces for a reason. Um, you are at risk. Everyone's at risk. There's a great deal of responsibility that's placed upon the service member and even the families at home, maybe especially the families at home. Sorry, he paid with his life, but it's a tough job. And it's one that not many people do. We like to look at it on the movies and TV shows, which is one thing, but doing it and watching it as entertainment are totally different things. And particularly modern military people have been called into these wars now, well, for a while, for 20 years, for a long time, doing deployment after deployment after deployment. And in some cases, the luck runs out.
It sure does. Well, I want to salute Staff Sergeant Gene Buddy Vance Jr. and his family. Thank you for defending our country and thank you for defending our freedom. Anybody out there who can hear my voice, anything that you think is important and anything you think is beautiful, and most importantly, whatever makes you happy, may you have that today and forever. I pray for peace.
I pray for peace too, Commander Drew. It's good to talk to you today, as usual. And to our listeners and viewers out there, we appreciate you. We would like you to be subscribers. Most of you are not subscribed. Please consider subscribing so you get an alert every time we put out a new episode. A like also helps the YouTube algorithm, but we would really like more subscribers and have people hear a positive message. So take care.
Thank you once again, Dr. Paul Thompson, my friend. Thank you for your love, your time, and that's something that we won't ever get back. I want to thank all the listeners, too. Thank you so much for doing the show, Dr. Paul. We're jamming.
Well, thank you, Mr. Drew, for inviting me on. Always good to talk to you. And ladies and gentlemen, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to this podcast or any of the podcasts. If you're looking at YouTube, they say smash the like button. Don't smash it. Just press it gently and refer to use as a link to all your friends. You can also look at us on our website, wingmenshow.com, WINGMEN show, SHOW.com, altogether, wingmenshow.com. And we hope to see you in the future. Thanks again, Mr. Drew.
Oh, you're welcome. And we're still floating like butterflies and stinging like bees. Rumble, you badass jet pilots, rumble. May there be peace on earth and goodwill towards all men and women.